This is shuttle launch control, T-minus 3 hours and holding. This is a planned built-in hold. We have completed the major steps in the early part of the count. The liquid oxygen tank has been filled with approximately 143,000 gallons of liquid oxygen. The fill of the liquid hydrogen tank has also been completed and is on the replenish mode. A total of 386,066 gallons of liquid hydrogen are placed on board. During this T-minus 3 hour point, the closeout crew is sent into the pad along with the group, which has an inspection of the tank and the main propulsion system to determine whether or not there is any ice buildup from the very super cold fluids which are on board the external tank. The flight crew has been awakened and will be going into breakfast just a short time from now. The astronaut flight crew of Bob Crippen, Rick Houck, John Fabian, Sally Ride, and Norman Thagard are presently in the room in the astronaut quarters. Commander Bob Crippen is in the center of the group, all of them wearing striped T-shirts this morning. Bob Crippen, commander of the 7th flight of the space shuttle, will be the first astronaut to have flown on the shuttle for the second time. He was pilot on the first space shuttle launch just slightly more than 2 years ago. Crippen has also been selected as a commander of the STS-7 crew, which will be the first mission to recover an ailing spacecraft from orbit, the Solar Maximum mission. Seated on his left is mission specialist Dr. Sally Ride, who will be the first U.S. woman to fly into space. Dr. Ride emphasizes she's a mission specialist and scientist who happens to also be a woman. This is shuttle launch control, T-minus 2 hours, 28 minutes, 15 seconds and counting, and our astronaut crew has just left their crew quarters, moving into the elevator to come down to the first floor of the O&C building for their trip to the pad. Commander Bob Crippen leading the way, and everybody crowding into the elevator so that they can get down to the bottom. Just prior to that, the NASA test director said that there would be another checkpoint. He asked everybody to look at their criteria, and that he'll be getting back to them prior to the actual time when the crew goes on board. But at this point, there are no constraints to the launch. A number of employees flashing their cameras as the crew comes out, led by Commander Bob Crippen. John Fabian, the tallest of the group, once quite worried that he was just too tall to be an astronaut. With the roomier spacecraft, that's not a problem. Dr. Norman Thagard, bringing up the rear, has the distinction of being the first medical doctor to fly into space. T-minus 1 minute, and the firing system for the sound suppression water system on the pad is armed. T-minus 55, the hydrogen igniters under the orbiter's engines have been armed. These devices are used to ensure that hydrogen flowing through the engines does not accumulate, causing a small explosion and pulse or pressure pulse at engine ignition. T-minus 35 seconds. We're just a few seconds away from switching command to the onboard computers. We've gone for auto sequence start. T-minus 25 seconds and counting. The sequencer on board now controlling the final seconds. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. The body flap and speed brake are in launch position. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We go for main engine start. We have main engine start and ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of STS-7 and America's first woman astronaut. And the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Roger, roll, Challenger. Houston now controlling. Mission control confirms roll maneuver started. Ground com on all F channels 217 doing. 20 seconds. Russ looks good. 25 seconds. Roll maneuver completed. 30 seconds. Challenger now 1 nautical mile in altitude. Throttling engines down now to 75% as programmed. 40 seconds. Challenger now 2.5 nautical miles in altitude. 45 seconds. Challenger now 3 nautical miles in altitude. 50 seconds coming up now and create a maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. 55 seconds. Challenger 4.5 nautical miles in altitude. Mark 1 minute. Pass through max Q, still looking good. Throttling engines back to 104%. Give it a go at throttle up. Challenger Houston, you're going throttle up. Roger, going throttle up. Mark 1 minute 25 seconds. Challenger now 11 nautical miles altitude, 8 nautical miles downrange. Velocity now reaching 3,700 feet per second. Mark 1 minute 40 seconds. Challenger now 16 nautical miles in altitude, 13 nautical miles downrange. Grippen Halkin Company now coming into the last traces of the Earth's atmosphere. Challenger now 19 nautical miles in altitude. 1 minute 55 seconds. Challenger 21 nautical miles in altitude, 21 nautical miles downrange. Standing by now for solid rocket booster separation. Roger, set. 12 minutes 12 seconds. Confirm good solid rocket booster separation. The booster's falling away now. 2 minutes 20 seconds.
Challenger Houston, your first stage performance was nominal.
Roger, nominal first stage. That was Capcom Roy Bridges advising first stage performance. Onboard guidance is converging now as programmed. Challenger is now steering for a precise window in space for main engine shutdown.
And Challenger Houston, we have a TV picture now. It really looks beautiful.
Okay, we agree. Okay, Houston, things are looking good on board.
Roger, we copy, and you all look good to us, too.
Okay, you got us about another 5 minutes here to wait. We got a nice view of Hawaii.
Roger, we understand. We saw some good views of the Earth through your cameras, as well as yourself.
Much better from this perspective. the visual results of the PAM deploy yesterday on the Annex satellite, and she's going to control it here from the aft station. So if you folks are ready to look and record, she's ready to send it down to you, and we'll chat at you while we're doing it.
What we're doing right now, Rick is rewinding the VTR and setting it up for the beginning of the sequence. And as soon as we get it, what we'll be showing you is what you ought to be seeing pretty soon is the start of mechanical sequence, and you can see the fin shield opening up on the Anik. You saw a little bit of the jump there that we saw yesterday.
We saw that.
And you can see it opens up fully here with no real problems, and the thing that would happen next in this sequence would be the removal of the restraints, and we're going to jump ahead just a little bit here on you and show you the tail end of that in the spin-up.
Okay.
And we'll give you a flight deck picture while Rick is fast forwarding to that. And right now the restraints are just coming out and it's about to spin up. And there it goes.
Of course, we spin it up to 50 RPM. Yesterday we saw 51.0 RPM at the top of the cycle.
Looks good.
It's taking about 30 amps on each of the motors, and then when we got stabilized out, it was taking 6 to 8 amps. Looked real good.
Okay, and we decided that once you've seen it spin up, you've seen it spin up, and now we're going to cut ahead to just before deploy and show you the last few seconds of terminal sequence and show it actually going out of the bay.
Okay.
And of course, what's going on in the meantime there is getting the spacecraft configured and ready for its flight, and then getting the various ordnance and safe and arm devices ready to go just prior to the time that the GPC releases the Anik.
Okay, and we've got it on now. You ought to be seeing a picture of it spinning up in the bay from camera Alpha.
Looks great. There she goes.
That's a shift over to the Delta camera, and you can see the KU band antenna there very briefly. Right about now, as I was watching this thing go out, John was yelling at me, "Throw the last switch, throw the last switch."
We got the switches, no problem. All of us agree this is by far the best simulation of a PAM deploy that we've yet seen.
Yeah, that's the best one we've seen in a while.
The visuals are a lot better, and we appreciate you keeping Sim Soup behind his curtain where they couldn't put in any malfunctions.
We'll handle the pan and tilts on the stuff in the mid deck if that's okay. I mean, not on the mid deck, correction, in the back in the payload bay, and y'all can play with all the other stuff.
That'll be fine, Grip.
If you look in the aft cockpit, you'll see that the doc here has his stethoscope out.
Okay, we got that now.
I think he's healthy, though.
We're getting a lot of glare off of Norman's head.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Wasn't nice, Big John. Wasn't nice.
It's hard to set up the lighting for Norm. To have a knob problem here of some kind. That could happen with any one of us. That's Sally.
Yeah, I was going to say, except Sally.
That should be a little bit better.
We've all decided to be nice to Norm, though.
We're looking right at you, Rick.
Hello.
you. We were kind of hoping of seeing some of the lava flows over Kilauea, but our attitude may prevent that.
We copy.
Hey, John, we were checking to see what time it was back in Houston and KSC, and I guess people have come to work already.
Yeah, some of us been here since 2:30.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it. And we got 2 sun shield motors enabled at this time.
We copy.
Showing good current, 0.2 amps on both motors. And Crip reports that it's coming open. And nominal amps, 0.2 on each motor.
Copy, and we got a good picture.
We see the spin up.
Okay, and what you're seeing now is the very end of terminal sequence. It'll be popping out any minute now. And same thing on Palapas with Anik. We really felt a kick when it left the bay.
Did that faint vibration continue through the deploy, or did it stop when you deployed?
It stopped with the deploy. That's real pretty. That's my first view of it.
Beautiful.
Okay, and if you say enough of that, we're going to now take you forward to something we didn't show you before, and that's the burn.
That was real good, troops. We'll go ahead and see that now.
Okay. Commander Crippen and Captain Halk seated at the front and get ready for the burn post-deploy.
Of course, Commander Crippen is a captain, too.
Get that Navy stuff mixed up.
Effective business, May 5th.
We can tell you're steely-eyed from here.
We're all real pleased, obviously, to be a part of the 4th successful PAM delivery, and we look forward to many more as the years go on.
Well said, John. We feel the same.
And I can tell you that whole system will really perform smoothly. Okay, Guy, we've got the experiment on now for the heat pipe, and we also have managed to get loaded the solar cell attitude, the solar inertial attitude, and we'll be ready to go on that on time. We're running the mass spec now, Guy, in program 4.
Roger, thank you. That's what we want.
It is swiveling.
And Challenger, we'd like the heat pipes turned on now, even though we're away from the terminator.
Okay, I copy that, and it's in work.
Thank you.
I'll be observing the 1 minute wait here, and I'll have the experiment on shortly.
Okay, I activated it at 2 days, 20 hours, 43 minutes, and as soon as we started the system status check, we got an out of range on pressure 1, and it was reading 0, essentially. It's since gone up, and I don't think it's a problem. I can give you a readout on that if you want, but it was up to 1.5 or so by the end of the status check. I kept going, and when we started the system 0 check, when I started it, we got an out of range on Delta P1. And it tripped at, I think, about 13.8. I think it's set to trip at 13.7. It went up as high as, negative 13.7. It went up as high as negative 18.5, and it looks like it's coming down now. I got a readout on Delta P1, Delta P2, Delta P3, and Delta P4 if you're interested in them.
Sure, we'd like to hear those, Sally.
I figured you would. Okay, I'm reading the current values. Delta P1 is negative 0.1. Delta P4 is 1.0. Delta P3 is negative 1.2. And hold on a second, let me call it Delta P2. Delta P2 is 0.4. And that's quite a bit different than they were. I can give you the original values for when we started the systems, or the 0 voltage check if you'd like them.
Yes, we'd like those too.
Okay. Beginning of 0 voltage, Delta P1 was negative 17.4. Delta P2 was negative 5.4. Delta P3 was negative 13.2. And Delta P4 was positive 2.4. So it looks like the system has stabilized throughout this the 0 voltage check. Looks like it's flowing pretty good now.
Okay, and we'll get back with a confirmation on that, Sally.
Okay.
And John, we also have some VTR of the CDR exercising that we can play down to you if you'd like to do that at any time.
That ought to be priceless.
I could describe it another way.
Priceless is a good description.
We're on page 10-5 at this time, on configuration Bravo. We had to go back and pick up configuration Echo again, had a little camera problem on it. And we're on the first step there.
Okay, sounds like you're a little ahead of time.
To be ahead of the timeline.
it in mind for very briefly again. I was going to put you back on camera Delta.
Very good.
What are we over now, TJ?
Just south of New Orleans, I'd guess.
Okay, coming down J86 maybe.
Looks like it.
Okay, for those DDoS guys that are there, we're on page 9-20 on flight specific, and John just picked up point 1. Give you a playback of that last departure. Stand by just a minute.
That's beautiful. Another space first.
Beat Bruce and his MMU.
Weather flight, Houston.
Houston weather flight, go ahead.
Roger, any last minute updates, Dick?
Negative, everything the same as before.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are they targeted for 1-5, I'm assuming?
That's affirmative.
Okay. I'll say once more, we're away to come to California.
Roger that.
Coming right down the Silicon Valley.
The wind at Dryden directly from the south at 10 knots. Challenger's airspeed 255 knots, altitude 34,000 feet. Touching the hack now. 18 miles to touchdown. Out of 30,000 feet at 257 knots. Beginning the wide sweeping left turn around the hack. $25,000 feet, 260 knots. $20,000 feet, 258 knots. Challenger turning final now. Right on the nominal track. Flight Dynamics Officer Willis Bolt reports. On glide slope and turning toward the center line. 14,000 feet. 292 knots.
Your energy looks good. Surface wind 180 at 10.
10,000 feet at 282 knots. On glide slope on center line. $6,500 feet, 281 knots. $2,900 feet, 287 knots. Gears coming. And Challenger's back home, back to Earth. The unofficial touchdown time in mission elapsed time, 6 days, 2 hours, 24 minutes, 10 seconds. That time is unofficial.
Roger, we see that. Congratulations, a great looking landing. And from the entry team, we've got some good news. Good news is the beer is very, very cold this morning. The bad news is it's 3,000 miles away.
That's what I was afraid of.
and I'll hand you over to the good guy Gardner here, and he'll talk to you about your post-landing.
Roger that.
And Challenger, we're going to go through the nominal post-landing procedures, and then we'll may bias that later based on the ammonia and how it holds out. The only deltas are, as you know, delete the hydraulic load test, and then just a reminder that the body flap read writes that we added via teleprinter are not required at Edwards.
We understand that.
Crew disembarking now. All 5 crewmen doing a walk-around inspection of Challenger. All 5 crew members.
Hey, Leader Sue.